school, a couple of folks joining from Africa. Let us know where you're joining us from. I think we do have a couple of folks who have joined us already. We can start the session, and the rest of the folks, they can join in as and when they want to, and then we'll also be sharing the recorded live stream of this webinar today. So, hey folks, thank you for joining in today. I'm Anshuman from the Devfolio team, and I am excited to start the second session today for the base hackathon from the base team, who will be leading the workshop on base names with the on-chain kit. So, Tina, I think you can start. The stage is all yours.
Amazing. Great seeing everybody here. I'm Tina from the Base team, and I'm sure that I've probably met many of you here before. I'm currently the product lead for OnchainKit and also on the Smart Wallet team with Wilson. So super great to meet everyone here. Really just want to make, this is like a pretty long session, but to be quite honest, like OnchainKit is pretty easy to integrate, and it probably wouldn't take that long. So want to like leave enough space for y'all to ask questions and see if there's any potential feature requests for what OnchainKit should work on moving forward. But really, I would spend just a little bit of time working through the setup of my repo and also what is possible with OnchainKit in regards to base name, where everyone is kind of trying to understand, okay, I get my base name now, or I'm an app developer, kind of wanting to integrate Basename in my app, like what's possible. So really, as many of you know, Basename is essentially like an ENS subdomain that is on Base. So it makes addresses way more readable. And if you're building an app in gaming or social or anything consumer related, it's just way more user-friendly to have your name versus a string of addresses that's very hard to read. So super, super excited to showcase some of the capabilities. So if you haven't already, let me share my screen here. Feel free to go to onchainkit.xyz. And if you /get started, you're able to actually come to this get started doc. So we recently actually cleaned this up to make it easier to use. So if you're a completely new developer, definitely feel free to follow the create WACME here. We're also working on our own kind of template, so you can have like npm onchainkit install. But for this one, I think that this will suffice as the first step. And then you navigate to your project name, and then you can install OnchainKit. But if you already have something set up, for example, if you have like an npx, create next app, like I can like write a comment in the box here, where if you already have a next app or one application, you can directly install OnchainKit with an npm install. So once you're able to do that, the next step is to get a public API key from Coinbase Developer Platform. So the domain here is actually cdp.coinbase.com, and I was logged out here, but I already got my API key. But if you haven't done so, you can log in here easily and get an API key in this OnchainKit UI. And I will skip some of the steps so that we can jump right into the code base. And then the next step is adding an OnchainKit provider. So many of you here that have worked with any other kind of developer-facing library, you know that there's always this like high-level provider that you add to your app where you pass in different configurations and preferences. So that's what OnchainKit provider is. So you just have to create a separate file. You can name it Onchain provider, and basically copy and paste the code here. And also, if you haven't done so already, if you follow the steps, you will already have a WACME file. But if you kind of start from scratch, then also create a WACME.ts, or based on the language, you can also be WACME.js to kind of create like a config page for WACME as well. So, and then the final step is actually adding styles. We're actually working proactively to make this styling way more intuitive for OnchainKit. So if you have any feedback, definitely welcome here. But right now, we actually pre-style all of our components. So when you use a component, you want to import this CSS file so that it inherits all the styling that we do for OnchainKit in the library as the final step. So this is like a 4-step process, and really the setup, should take only about less than 10 minutes. And I want to highlight another resource here, which is on-chain app template. So it's on-chain app template.vercel.app. And I can also share the link with everyone here afterwards, but it's really a template that I will also be showcasing today, where I basically forked this template and implemented some identity-related components on the same page, but this file essentially have all the setup done for you. So if you want to get started really quickly, you essentially can do so and start building your app without setting up all the required dependencies. Let me just share this repo in the chat. There's so many windows. Okay, here we go. Awesome. All right, let's jump to the code. And I set it up very quickly so that we can save time and have more time for questions. But just want to quickly walk through the file kind of structure here. So if you're familiar with, Next.js and app router, really OnchainKit right now has been building primarily with this app router structure. We did provide some support for page router, but that's still work in progress, and we're going to refine that. But we recommend most people use like the latest app router for Next.js in order to use OnchainKit, and we're expanding also the library compatibility with also more frameworks like Vanilla.js and whatnot. So quickly going to the folder structure here. So as we mentioned, let me go to the components. So we do have a on-chain provider here, as I mentioned, and this is like the exact same that you would see from the docs, where you configure basically all your settings. And here you don't need to wrap, obviously, Rainbow provider. The only reason why it's here is because we have like two options. One is a sign up button, one is a sign in button. So for one, you can use a wallet aggregator to accommodate for users with MetaMask. And the other, it's like a Coinbase Smart Wallet only implementation for onboarding new users, because it takes a couple clicks. You scan your face with a passkey, and then the wallet gets created for you. So basically, this step is optional. All you need is actually the WAGMI provider, the query client provider, and also the OnchainKit provider. And you can also pass in the API key here as well from OnchainKit. And over time, we're going to extend essentially like appearances and some of these higher level styling props also in the OnchainKit provider, so it's more ergonomic. Awesome. So just want to go through this, and the WAGMI file, again, like it's similar to kind of what's already shared in the doc. But here we kind of, because we're using RainbowKit, so we highlighted recommended wallet as Coinbase wallet here to kind of highlight that option, especially if you want to use Smart Wallet. And you can actually like add any wallets here if you use RainbowKit, obviously. So just want to go through this file as well. All right, so now I want to jump in and actually showcase, this is the page that I built with the OnchainKit app template that's right here. So as you can see, the identity, really, we have like two main use case for identity. The first one is actually, you can visualize like a user's username. So in your app, right, like you don't want the cold start problem of having just like lists of addresses across your app. So you want them to look pretty and look like a consumer-ready social app. So you're able to do that by using the identity component. So just walking through that a little bit, it's actually a very lightweight code. Most of the code here is actually just me styling it and giving it some visual effect. But really, it's like I'm just using these two lines of code, and all you need to do is make sure that it's a client component, client-side component, and then you import avatar and name from the OnchainKit identity component, and then you're able to essentially visualize the avatar and name component here. So this is basically what it looks like on the page. And yeah, it's as simple as that. And you can imagine, I'm currently using the use account hooks from WAGMI to basically visualize the base name of someone, like of basically myself, that's connected to this app. But if you are an app that wants to kind of dynamically visualize, the user's identity across like different, let's say you're a game and you want to visualize the base name of all your players, and you have those players' addresses, you can also dynamically, like obviously populate this prop with those addresses. So it doesn't always have to be like obviously the address is being connected to this website. The other use case that I want to highlight is actually in the wallet side. So there's actually two big components for wallet. One is this identity piece that you're seeing. The other is all the kind of wallet capabilities. So if you go back here, right, you have latina.base.eth, base name, and then you have all these utilities. So you have, my wallet address that's copyable. I have my ETH balance, and then I have, different functionality. So if I go to profile, it actually goes to my base name. And if you go to wallet, it actually goes to, this great, you can actually configure whether you want to go to a new page. So let me just quickly do that because I forgot to set that. So you can set this target as blank. Then you're able to save. Go back. Maybe it's like 3, 4. Okay, I might have to do a redeploy. All right. Sorry for the wait there. All right. So what I just did is I kind of fixed this link so it doesn't leave your app. So when you click this link, it actually opens a new tab. And then you can also have the fund component, which is funding your wallet. So it will link you to this page where it will be very easy to on-ramp. So there's like 3 options to fund your wallet as well. You can buy crypto directly through Coinbase on-ramp. You can receive crypto. So it gives you a QR code where you can use another wallet to fund it. Or the most magical feature probably is like linking Coinbase account. So you can link your Coinbase account, and then, yeah, I'm using a test environment here, so I'm not logged in anywhere. But if you logged into your Coinbase account, you can link those 2 accounts, so you can now fund your wallet directly from the Coinbase account. And obviously, not everyone here, I'm sure, have Coinbase in their country, so there's some limitations there, and we're working really hard on expanding the countries we support. But for those of you that have like 100 million users that have a Coinbase account, then this will be a great feature to fund any wallet, and also give your users a way to fund it. So yeah, like I just highlighted 2 main ways where you can use the identity component. One is, as a standalone identity component, to showcase users' wallet addresses. The other is using it in the wallet context, so that when users connect their wallet, they immediately see their base name. And I will share this repo with everyone here after the session, so you can also just fork my code and try it out yourself. Awesome. I think I'll pause here to see if there's any questions. All right, I see some questions in the chat box here. Is OnchainKit compatible with Privy? Yes, and yes, I think if you use Privy for wallet authentication, then you don't necessarily need our wallet component anymore, but then you can still use other components, like identity components or transaction component or swap component. We have a bunch of different components, and you can still use Privy as a connector to use those components. So yes, we are compatible with Privy. But it will be a little weird if you use our wallet and also Privy's wallet, because that's just unnecessary. So our other components are compatible. I didn't see the identity wrapper in the main branch. What branch are you using? Yeah, this is a separate repo that I personally created. So it's a fork of the repo that I shared. So I can share with this group. Maybe I'll just do that now. I need to make this repo. public though. Let me go ahead and do that. All right. Okay, I just made it public. Let me share with the group here. Is there a component or hook to get skills detailed and the various badges that a base name has? That's a great question. I will keep those in mind. Definitely, that will be a great feature. We'll ping the base name team to provide those hooks. Thank you, Harpole, for the great question. I'm a very beginner. Can you please explain more in detail? Yes, I can. I think it would be helpful if people can drop in some questions in terms of what exactly they want explanation for. That will be very helpful. Or any like ideas or feature requests for how we can make identity and base name more useful. And I'll definitely take note of that and share with the team. Can you repeat the summary of your project overview quickly? Yes. So I think the best place to get started is actually one, like this doc has all the setup. So you really just have to copy and paste the code and create the right files. And the second place to start is actually with the repo that I just shared. It kind of showcased like an example structure of the repo that you can also replicate. So let me just walk through the folder structure a little bit, and then maybe I'll one action item I can take is after this I can also do it here live stream, but I can like basically summarize the folder structure and put it in the OnchainKit identity README, so you guys can like replicate the way that we set up the repo. But just quickly going through. So everything is in the source file, just like how a lot of Next.js. You don't have to use this. You can also just skip that step when you install a Next.js app. And then basically, this is just like, I think, best practices in terms of folder structure. Usually, like I like to put on-chain provider here because it is a component and it's very easy to wrap our settings around an application. And where we wrap our application is at the root of the project, which is usually the layout file. I think in the old version of Next.js, it's called index.tsx. So it's either one of those, but usually it's where you set your app's metadata. Like for example, I'm setting the metadata of this app as like the app name as on-chain app template. And that's where you wrap your on-chain provider around the children, which is actually your application. So definitely make sure you do this step. And the other kind of things to highlight is we like to, this is like honestly like a personal preference, but you can also have like another folder called like config, and then you can put a lot of the config related files there. But usually, like, I just like to put WACME also kind of in the root of my project, where it's kind of sitting above the app layer, where you're able to define, settings like from a WAPME side, things like chains, things like wallet connectors, and for our project specifically, right? Like, we want to make sure that we're using, we're using Rainbow Wallet, so we're basically including the Coinbase Wallet option, and also we can include other options like Rainbow Wallet, but this is all optional. The actual file can be super light with like literally just this section. So yeah, like, feel free to replicate this code if you want to set things up, and then you can see these props basically showcase what's possible to config, and you can go to like WACME's also official docs, which is here. For those of you who are new to WACME, I will share in the group as well, to see basically what is possible to configure it, and then you can play around with it. Wow, so many questions. Do you have plans for Flutter, Dart, SDK? Yeah, we are thinking very actively about mobile support, and yeah, Flutter definitely. I know that in like many markets, that's a very important one. And right now on the roadmap, just to be completely transparent, like, we are prioritizing React Native, which is a mobile native version of React, and Flutter. Okay, I'll keep a note on that, and I think we can probably get to that Q1 or Q1 next year. That's a great push. How can I directly use debit card, credit card on-ramp function? I want to hide crypto options. Well, that's a great question. So I think that there is a lot of kind of compliance complexity with on-ramp. So we actually do have debit card checkout already. So if you go to the buy crypto option in the in here, you're able to actually go through a guest checkout flow. It's not the most intuitive because you have to log in and do all that stuff. But you can do it. But we're like right now improving this flow pretty meaningfully, so it's like less confusing. Yeah, you can like add payment method, and I won't showcase too much here for privacy reasons, but you can add your payment method, and that will link you to your Coinbase app where you can add your debit card. I know that it's many clicks, so this is something that we're aware of and actively improving. Is the identity tag in the identity tag? What is schema ID? Yeah, you can actually. Sorry, Julio, for the confusion. You can actually ignore that. That's a little outdated. We didn't have enough time to update the docs before this call. But really, schema ID is actually a Coinbase One verification ID. So we didn't explain that well in the documentation. So we will add that for sure. So essentially, if you are a Coinbase One user, it will show a little dot that shows up next to your base name to show that you're a verified user. So for those of you that care about KYC or care about kind of having legible users, that will be a great feature to have. And we will include the documentation around how to acquire the schema ID more clearly. Building a toy app for the Base Lab 10 hackathon. We're using the Talent API to get builder score and extend small loan to them based on reputation. How would you use to integrate Base into this type of project? Yeah, I think definitely the most intuitive way to implement is still, like for example here, right? When user log in, they can see they have a base name. Obviously, I think that Harpal just mentioned good points. It's like with the base name, you can also get API endpoints around this person's reputation and builder score. But since like you're already doing that with the builder score API, really base name is for aesthetic purposes and sort of for user management. So you can easily basically see exactly like in your user base without them creating a separate like account database to understand who your users are, like who are the people that have actually applied for the loans, and and for a very intuitive UI. And in the future, right, we have really exciting roadmap ahead for base name. You can think of base name in the future and like your wallet address being kind of like, interchangeable. And that's the vision. It's like we don't want to see these 0x addresses anymore. Like ideally everyone just has a base name and you can actually connect many wallets to a base name. So in the use case of, let's say, extending a loan, right? Maybe you don't want to look at a user's address, just one address, because that might not be representative. And you actually want to look at their financial history, or their biller score across different addresses, to underwrite them more effectively. If that's the case, then when base name enable multi-address linking, that will be a very effective use case as well. So it's like actually a reputation like kind of aggregator across many wallets. So that's like a very interesting use case to think about. And if you have any feedback on how we can execute against that, we'll love the feedback. But that's something that we're actively thinking about. What are the main differences between ENS and base names? I think that the biggest difference is probably, kind of architecturally, right? Like we are like a fork of ENS and we're a subdomain of ENS. So really the difference is, I think, the utilities, right? So I think that because base name is built around the base ecosystem, you can think of ways where now, with a base name, you can get like different types of benefits. For example, right now, Coinbase One, if you're a Coinbase One user, right, like that's basically like Coinbase's Prime program, you can like claim a base name for free. But the vice versa can be true, where if you are a base name user, maybe in the future, right, we create a deal with, let's say, Uniswap, like hypothetically, and you would get some discounts on trading, right? So basically, you can think of base name as, the VIP maybe program of base, where if you have base name with a certain reputation, we will give you additional benefits. Versus, kind of ENS can be very broad and it's an open protocol, which is what makes it very great. But it doesn't like give you any additional ecosystem related benefits, if that makes sense. Great questions. Yeah, that is cool. User with base name get free gas. Yeah, that's a problem that let me take a screenshot of this because it comes up a lot. So right now it's not that intuitive where, if you have multiple base names, like your wallet will always be the latest base name. That doesn't make sense, right? Like even if I get 10 base names, I want maybe tina.base.eth to be like my primary base name. So that's something that we're actively working on so that you can set your primary base name. So thanks for that feedback.
Okay, there are a lot of questions which have been asked by the participants. We can wait for a couple more minutes. If folks have any other questions, they can add in the Q&A and the chat, and then we can call it a wrap. Hmm. Okay, so I don't see much questions coming up right now. Um, Gina, I think it would be a good time to call off the session then. Okay, okay, sounds good. So, thank you again, folks, for joining us for the today's session on base names with OnchainKit. Thank you, Tina, again for taking our time to take up the session for the participants for the Base Around the World Hackathon. I'm sure, like people, this is really useful for people who have joined us today and the folks who will be referring to the live stream video afterwards. We'll be having our last session tomorrow at the same time on No Code with Base, where Will from the Base team will be joining us and we'll be sharing more insights on how you can get started with building on Base tomorrow. Um, we look forward on the announcement channel for further information. We'll be hosting some mentorship hours as well in the upcoming week. and we look forward to your participation there as well. Thank you, folks, for joining in again today, and have a nice day. Bye bye.